Hey guys, welcome to the video, Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the primary weapon, the Torid Incarnon. But before we start, let's go over our commenter board. The first commenter of the last video was Amondello, and the top commenter of the last video was Bars98. Then we have our recent channel supporters here of Whoopty-Wham, Nice Bear, and Colonel06. Thank you so much for your support. Unique and interesting things about the Torid Incarnon is that it has innate toxin on both the non-Incarnon and Incarnon forms. The non-Incarnon form is a toxic grenade launcher that explodes in a 3-meter radius, and that will linger there for about 10 seconds. And the Incarnon form is a chaining beam laser that can chain to up to 5 enemies for 75% of the previous beam's damage. The Torid Incarnon has a few more things that are unique to it that are a bit complicated, and so sometimes it can confuse people and make you either undervalue or overvalue certain things. And so I made this slide to help you visualize what's actually happening with the Torid Incarnon. So like we were saying, it's a chaining beam laser, but it doesn't function like pretty much any chaining beam laser in the game. And that's because if you see in the slide here, you have your laser that comes out, but the first target it hits, it's going to create this AoE radius, a 2.3 AoE radius. Now, the primary target that you hit is going to get full value from your multi-shot, and it's going to chain to up to 5 enemies like we were saying before, and that's going to get full value from your multi-shot. But enemies that are within this 2.3 meter radius created also can chain to up to 5 enemies, but they don't get value out of your multi-shot. Now let's go over the mods. We have Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot, Galvanized Scope for 320% critical chance, Vial Acceleration for 90% fire rate. Hammer Shot is our flex slot, and I will go over at the end other things that you can put in the Hammer Shot slot. So Hammer Shot is just 80% status chance and 60% critical damage. It's okay on the build here, but there are a lot of other options you can put over Hammer Shot. Again, I'll go over that when we get to the end. Critical Delay for 200% critical chance, Vital Sense for 120% critical damage, Bladed Rounds for 120% critical damage, Prime Cryo Rounds for the 165% cold mod. This is going to mix with our innate toxin and make viral. Now, if you already are having a way to produce external viral, maybe you're using the Panzer Vulpaphyla, maybe you have Nourish on your build or something like that, then instead make corrosive here. And that would be the electric mod mixed with the innate toxin, and that would make corrosive. Then we have in the Exilus slot, Vigilante Supplies. This is a 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. This boosts our DPS by a small amount. Not that the Torid really needs it, but hey, some extra DPS. And then in the Arcane slot, we have Primary Deadhead. This is 360% flat damage, 30% headshot multiplier, and minus 50% weapon recoil. All right, let's circle back to the Hammer Shot slot. And I want to go over other things that can go into this slot or why you would maybe keep Hammer Shot on. So Hammer Shot is 80% status chance and 60% critical damage. It's okay, but this build is a viral build. Viral only stacks to 10, so you don't really need that much status chance. And even if we had external viral and we were going for corrosive, like we were saying, same issue there. It only stacks to 10. We don't really need that much status chance. And so Hammer Shot, we're really only benefiting greatly from 60% critical damage. And if you notice, we're already getting 120 from Vital Sense, and we're getting another 120 from Bladed Rounds. So 60 is not that big of a deal. It's still an okay mod, but let's go over some other things that can go into the slot. And the first thing, and probably the most obvious thing, would be a Riven. You have a Riven for the Torid, go ahead and plop it right over Hammer Shot. Don't even worry about it. It's the easiest decision of your life, and you're good to go there. The next thing that could go over Hammer Shot is a Bane mod. If you like faction mods, you can put a Bane mod in that slot over Hammer Shot. I personally don't use builds with Bane mods. Even at level cap, I won't use Bane mods. But if you're into them and you don't mind switching, your Bane mods, depending on what content you're doing, that could be a really easy decision as well over Hammer Shot. The next thing you could put over Hammer Shot is Hunter Munitions. So Hunter Munitions is a 30% chance to apply a slash on a critical. Now, if you're doing early to mid steel path, mid as in like EDA, ETA range, level 4 to 500, then Hammer Shot will likely beat out Hunter Munitions. Hunter Munitions is only going to get better than Hammer Shot when you're doing late steel path, like over level 500 enemies. And if you have done level cap on the Torid, it does start to slow down when you get closer to level cap, especially on Thraxes. On Trash, it's still killing him in like 1 or 2 seconds. But on Thraxes, it does start to slow down, and Hunter Munitions starts getting great value in that case. So for me, if I do level cap on the Torid, because I don't like faction mods, it's an easy decision for me. I just put Hunter Munitions over Hammershot. Okay, there are 2 other options over Hammershot, and these are situationally great options. Sometimes you'll get almost no value, and sometimes you'll get amazing value out of these 2 options. Let's start with, I think the worst one here, but this is still an okay option, is magnetic capacity. So magnetic capacity is plus 60% magnetic and plus 40% magazine capacity. The magazine capacity doesn't even work on the Incarnon form, so it's only for the plus 60 magnetic. Now, if you're doing mid to late steel path, where like half of the enemies on the field are going to have overguard, you can get amazing value out of magnetic capacity, because now you have a viral setup, so you're doing viral priming, and you have magnetic on your build. So that can be really, really strong there. Again, it's situational though. It's really only going to give you great value in like endurance content, mid to late steel path. And then finally, the last option, which is a similar thing, where sometimes it'll give you no value and sometimes it'll give you amazing value, is Prime Firestorm. So Prime Firestorm improves the blast radius of weapons with radial attacks by plus 44%. And if you remember, the Torid, when it hits a target, it's going to create a 2.3 meter radius. Well, with Primed Firestorm, it could be more like, I'm not great at math here, but I think it's like a 3.3-ish radius. That's not huge. It's only 1 meter. But if that extra meter hits a target, that target can chain to 5 other enemies. So it's a potential to do a lot more damage. It's just that this is a little bit more dependent on enemy density in the map. Even like doing level cap content on Void Cascade, for instance, I've noticed Void Cascade has really bad density sometimes. Sometimes you only get good enemy density when you're damn near at level cap. Like before that, they're very sparse, the enemies, and so I wouldn't really get much value out of Prime Firestorm there. But if you're doing like survivals have very heavy enemy density. You could get great value out of Prime Firestorm. It really depends on the map if you think you can get value out of that extra like 1 meter that you get from Prime Firestorm. So sometimes you'll get 0 value out of it, sometimes you'll get amazing value out of Prime Firestorm. So you can make that decision yourself there. The other thing you can consider is that if you're on console or on mobile, some of those platforms are harder to get headshots on, and so galvanized scope is kind of a pain in the butt on those platforms. If you're on PC, you don't have an excuse not to use galvanized scope. Just hold your right click. It's not that hard. It's 320% critical chance for just holding right click. All right, it's not that hard. You don't have an excuse on PC. But if you're on console or mobile, then you can consider galvanized scope and Hammershot kind of flex slots, and you can change those into any of the things we just talked about. All right, now we're going to go over the evolutions for the Torid Incarnon. The first evolution is that you've just unlocked it on the weapon. Congratulations. The second evolution that we're going to be picking is Final Fusillade. This increases your base damage by plus 51, and you get plus 3 multi-shot on the last shot in the magazine. That last part only works on the non-Incarnon form. So we're really just benefiting from that plus 51 increase to base damage, which is still really nice. The third evolution, you have 2 options here. They're not great. These all only affect the non-Incarnon form, but they could make it easier to go into Incarnon. So the first one here is Swift Deliverance. This is the one I pick, where you get a plus 50% projectile speed. This will help make the little toxic grenade that shoots out drop less. So it'll actually go a little bit farther and a little bit more accurate. It still has a little bit of a drop to it, but it makes it easier to hit enemies. And so that's why I go with this one. It makes it just easier for me to charge up my Incarnon quickly. Now, the other one you can pick is Extended Volley. This increases your base magazine capacity by plus 9. So if you don't want to really aim very well, but you still want to fill up your Incarnon pretty quickly, you could just spam the non-Incarnon form of the Torid because you have more shots in your magazine and you can fill it up quicker that way too. So Extended Volley or Swift Deliverance are fine options. I pick Swift Deliverance personally. And then in the fourth evolution slot here, we have Commodore's Fortune, which increases base critical chance by +20, or +20%, I should say. So this is the one I pick, and that's because I'm going with either a viral build, or if I have external viral already, I'm going with corrosive. But there is a option that if you wanted to kind of mess around with the build a bit and go with something that is more status damage-y, like blast or something like that, then the next one here, Survivor's Edge, becomes pretty good. So Survivor's Edge increases your base critical chance by +15%, but it also increases your base status chance by +15%. Like we were saying before, corrosive and viral, they don't really need more status chance. You don't need this if you're going with a setup that I showed. But if you're gonna try to do your own setup and you wanna go for like a blast or gas or something else that's more status damage, then Survivor's Edge becomes the better choice here. So for our build, Commodore's Fortune, if you wanna do something yourself, Survivor's Edge could be better. This is how you build out the primary weapon, the Torid Incarnon. So now we'll have a 5-minute gameplay portion showcasing the weapon, and when that's done, we'll come back to the Orbiter and we'll give it its final score and rank. So I'll see you guys again after the gameplay. Okay, we're about to start this 5-minute gameplay portion up here. Let's go ahead and hack the terminal and we'll get into the Torid Incarnon.
Is attempting to purge you from this place. Stand by for life support.
This has a similar issue to melee weapons, where it's going to kill so quickly that you're more fighting with the spawns than you are the strength of the weapon. Like, the strength of the weapon is obviously there. It's just like, it's the spawns that are like, come on, bring me more spawns. Here we go. We got a bunch of spawns here. That's why I'm saying on PC, it's not hard to get headshots. I can't even see these enemies' heads. You just aim head height, and you're stacking scope to full. And even on maps that aren't as dense, you really only need to keep scope like 2 stacks just to keep in consistent reds. It's like 2 stacks, and you get consistent reds there. This is obviously a meta weapon, really powerful weapon. So powerful, some people kind of find this boring to play with. But, you know, it's, if it's boring or not is really a personal thing if you think it is. Some people like seeing big numbers. Where are them spawns at? Where are them spawns at? Hardest part is seeing past all the damage numbers to see where you have to aim next. We're gonna have an Acolyte coming. This actually does really good against the Acolyte too. Most assault rifles or like laser rifles or even the chaining beam weapons, they're pretty like mid against the Acolyte. This is Malice, I gotta be careful. Okay, here we go, I'm safe now. So to make sure I didn't have the mag bubble on me. But the Torid, because it does so much damage so quickly, it's actually pretty decent against the Acolyte too, weirdly. So it doesn't even have like the weakness that a lot of assault rifle or chaining beam lasers have, where, you know, they're good at they're good at kill per minute, but they're less good at single target. This one doesn't really have that issue. I shouldn't say less good at single target, because a lot of them can stack like heat and things like that, like the new core, for instance. I should specifically say they're less good at acolytes, because acolytes can't stack past 4. All right, so that was 5 minutes. We're at 579 kills. Let's go ahead and head back to the Orbiter now. Welcome back to the Orbiter, guys. So let's go over how the Torid Incarnon did in its 3 10-minute runs on Steel Path Lewis Circulus. It got 1,254, 1,190, and 1,203 kills, putting it in the S tier for kill per minute potential. And for reference, I consider weapons that get 900 and over in 10 minutes S tier. A lot of the strongest weapons in the game, you know, barely got over 900, or maybe they're mid or high 900s. This completely blew them out of the water, with 2 of the runs being over 1,200. So that's pretty crazy there. So yeah, Torid Incarnon's like the top of S tier for kill per minute potential. When it comes to single target damage, it's still really, really good. I wouldn't say it's S tier, but I mean, it's close. It's A tier for single target potential. It's probably close to S tier. It's just that there are other weapons in the game that 1-shot or 2-shot large enemies, whereas the Torid Incarnon, you actually have to maintain your accuracy on target, get a few shots into them, and eventually they melt down. So I don't want to give it S tier because of that. You know, so we'll give it A tier. We'll give it A tier for single target. And for ease of use, S tier is reserved for weapons where, you know, you could have your half-blind grandmother sit at your computer and she could get almost as much value as you do out of the weapon. The Torid Incarnon, I mean, man, it's close, right? It might be S tier. Weapons like the Brahma, you could literally just have them like aim at the ground and they're still going to get almost as much value as you would be getting. Torid, you actually have to aim, but you don't even have to aim that good. Like, even if you don't get headshots, you're still getting a lot of value out of the Torid. It's just that you would at least have to aim in the general direction of enemies. Whereas like weapons like the Brahma, you could literally just aim at the ground. So I think for ease of use, we'll give it A tier, but it's very high in A tier. So that's my take on the weapon. Tell me what you guys think. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.